All right, Metal Maniacs, it's the Meista from Brews and Tunes, and I am absolutely thrilled and beside myself tonight. I am chatting with legendary guitarist, Mr. Wiley Arnett, of course, of the mighty Sacred Reich, one of my favorite bands of all time. Hello, sir. How are you doing?
I am excellent. It's good to be here today, hanging out with you, and thanks for that rock star intro.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah. Um, yeah, like I said, I mean, one of my all-time favorite bands, and I mean, from way back, of course, and you guys just keep bringing it, which I love. First off, I wanted to. I know you guys just finished not too long ago touring with Carcass, which I was fortunate enough to see in Salt Lake City, Utah, and that show was a dream come true to see you guys. I mean, you guys
What a
killed.
what a blast! We had a municipal waste, creeping death out on that one.
Yeah.
What a killer group of guys, and music every night was just amazing. And you were in Salt Lake?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that was a memorable show as well. It was really cool over there. Great tour, man. All the bands pushed each other. Everyone got along well behind the scenes. No drama.
Nice.
Uh, Sunburnt the shit out of myself in Florida on a day off. That was rough.
I can imagine. Yeah, I mean that was and I'm not to be hyperbolic in any way, but that was one of the best tours I have seen in a long time. I mean, I was so invested in that show. It was incredible. And I mean, as a Sacred Reich fan, I kind of wish you guys were higher up in the bill, but that's fine. But it was you guys just slayed. It was so good. Such a great show.
It was a really cool tour, and the mix of bands brought a cool crowd. So it seemed like everyone was being exposed to someone they might not see on their own.
Yeah.
That's certainly our intention with those support gigs, is to try to get into people who aren't showing up at our headliners. And we totally felt like we were doing that, meeting new people, making new friends. And after 20 plus years, no record, and then we did the Awakening record and went immediately into a world pandemic and didn't get to properly support it. So we're kind of, the Awakening record is reawakening the band,
Nice.
multi-purpose title. But part of that commitment is to get back in line, start over, try to get out there and get in front of people, and make new friends and get this thing restarted.
Nice.
Already working on a new record. It's going great,
Oh, cool.
and regret the missed opportunity to tour more heavy for Awakening. So we're kind of going after it now. We supported Sepultura. That was an amazing tour with Crowbar. Um, did some Euro and US dates with that one, and then the Carcass tour was amazing. And then back in 19, before everything happened, we were out with Gore. So it's been a nice mix of bands, really getting us in front of different people.
Yeah.
And it seems like the strategy's paying off. Meeting cool new people, making new friends, and hopefully broadening our fan base.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, that's perfect. And you have I know you have a bunch of upcoming shows, but you guys I think the Summer of Love as
Yes.
it's been deemed. You guys are hitting Europe, the UK and Europe and festivals and that's coming up next month, I believe if I'm
Yeah, I
right.
think the first show to kick that off was in Poland, and we're playing with Megadeth and Creator,
Oh, wow.
and that's always a great way to start off any metal adventure.
Yeah.
So and then we're there for I think 3 weeks and got a handful of festivals, and then some of the festivals, they got the weeks between them. So we started booking some shows where we could. Some are headliners, some are support, like that Creator or Megadeth gig. So now it looks like it's pretty much complete. We got the appropriate amount of days off. You don't want to fly out there and have 10 days off between festivals. So we were kind of looking at the geography and booking dates where we could to lead us in between the festivals. And it looks stitched together pretty nice. There'll still be some days off where we can enjoy ourselves, but we're not going to be sitting around bored. We're out there to play, so we will be. But I didn't really count the shows, but it looked like there was a good 10 or 12 of them.
Nice. Yeah, smart. I like that. Yeah. Doing the festivals and then hitting the shows in between. That's
Yeah, you can spend the money and get out there. And we're in work mode, so we're not dragging the family with us. So it's good to book that time off wherever you can, local show on a Wednesday or whatever it is,
right.
and just go in there and have some fun.
Nice. So I got to circle back. You mentioned you guys are working on a new album, which that's a very exciting news. I think for me and all your fans. So what can you tell me about that? If you can tell me anything about that at this point?
It's been an amazing process. You know, we didn't do a record for a long time for several reasons, but one of the biggest is the well had kind of run dry. You know, we lean hard on Phil for a lot of writing, 100% of the lyrics and almost as much music.
Hmm.
And if he's, you know, if he's not feeling it or inspired, then there's really nothing for us to say. And after a long time sitting away and then coming back and starting to do kind of the reunion shows, and we got a taste for it again. And then a crazy world, our kids getting older, moving out, graduating high school. It was easy to talk yourself out of getting busy in a band over the years. So between a lack of inspiration, no new ideas, and a sense of we should be home doing important stuff, you know, we definitely did park for a while. But 2007, we got back out. We went nearly 10 years just banging out old songs, Surf, The American Way, Death Squad, Independent, you know, all the old stuff, having a blast. Every show felt like a high school reunion for us, seeing guys with the wizard stripes just like us, and just reminiscing about, you know, all the great times, or that time they saw us in New Jersey in 1989 or 91, or in you know, somewhere in France. And it's been so cool to go back and reignite those connections. And it was just inspiring. And then, you know, global events. We had always been a political band,
Yeah.
and I think when you look at Awakening, some people are like, oh, you know, Trump came around, all of a sudden they were inspired again. But if you look close at Awakening, you know, there's a little splash of it, but it's really not the theme these days. We certainly reserve the right, because, you know, we're still motivated that way to try to make people who might not hear those messages actually hear them through metal. But feels good. It feels inspired. It doesn't feel pushed. It feels natural. It would have been ideal for us to record or release something by the end of this year, but we felt pressure for that and we resisted it. I'm like, no, yeah, it's not the best strategy on paper, but it's just got to come when it feels right. We play the songs we love when we enjoy our most success when we're pleasing ourselves, and then we find the people who agree with us. So we're kind of figuring out our stuff. You know, Awakening was a great start, and now we've got two more records on our current deal. And obviously, we're not writing the third one just yet. But the second one, I think, has got 6 or 7 songs that are all the way there. We'd like to see 10, you know, 12 songs. Of course, we never get that high, but that's a goal. And we don't really write songs for throwaway. You know, we're not one of those bands who do 20 and pick our favorite 10. We just write until we feel like we've got a record, and then we book studio time. So we're moving right along. Feeling pretty inspired. We got pretty busy. This year's been crazy. You know, we started off in March. Was it Asia, Australia, New Zealand, which was quite the adventure. We had never been to a couple of those spots, like Bangkok, Thailand, Singapore, Vietnam.
Wow.
We'd never been to any of those places, so it's pretty freaking amazing.
Yeah.
And then came home and did the US tour, and now we're preparing to go for Europe. So that can stifle creativity. We're not huge at one of those bands with the headphones in the backstage in a basement in a club writing the new record. It seems to happen when there's time off. The smoke settles, we calm our thoughts and be creative. So we're just coming off about a month of that. It's been a crazy time, but we can feel the momentum picking back up, and I think we're on target. Hopefully early 2024 in the studio with a release by the end of the year.
Nice. Excellent. Oh, I look forward to that, because as a fan, and I have to say, like, Awakening, I absolutely loved that album. And for me, I guess I'm usually pretty good about reading stuff and knowing what's going on in the metal world, but for me it kind of came out of left field. I didn't know it was happening, and then I saw that it had been released. I'm like, wait, what? Sacred Reich has a new album? And so I picked it on vinyl. Yeah, I grabbed it on vinyl, got it right here, and I was completely blown away. I think it's just perfection from the starting point to that fade out. It's such a great.
Thank you so much. It was really cathartic recording it. You know, it was such a release. I remember kind of accepting in my mind I was done doing records, you know. So to get to that point where we were there and recording, there was a special vibe in the room. We like to think it was captured on the record, but there was a lot of love and appreciation for the opportunity. The record meant a lot. It was a real labor of love. We really gelled well as a team while we were in there. We were coming off the cusp of the upset with Jason, unfortunately, while we were in the studio. But somehow it's the classic, you know, no pain, no gain, no growth without a bit of a breakdown. And it ended up being a really beautiful process. And for us, it's super special. Like, we've done a few records, but there was something really, really special about that one. The record we didn't know if we would ever do. And if you go back, you know, 5 years, you can find interviews where we will guarantee you we're not doing any new records. So it was really special for us. And we can hear that special energy in there because we were there. But we always like to think it has a little extra something in it, just because of the authentic appreciation for the opportunity and expression to be creative and to share new music. It meant a lot to us. The lyrics have heavy content. Yeah. You know, we're an older band. A lot changes as you get older. You look at the world different, a bit more patient, a bit deeper. So, you know, really awakening is not about the band coming out of retirement. It's about having a self-awakening, discovering that we're all connected at a deep and intimate level. And a lot of the division we run into is a result of us forgetting we're all family, and we draw up our lines and we create our boundaries. And anyone on this side of the fence, I have water for. Anyone on that side of the fence, you go find your own water. Yeah. Get out of here. So, you know, still guilty daily of being a human, but becoming more aware of how we're all connected and just trying to love everybody, love ourselves enough to love everybody. And it's a really cool vibe. I've been enjoying getting older, just more of a witness, enjoying watching things unfold, having a bit more patience. It's ironic, as we have less time, we get more patience.
Yeah, isn't that true? Isn't that true? That was one thing that really hit me. And in fact, I'll admit this. I'm not too proud to. I got pretty choked up during the show in Salt Lake when and I don't remember exactly what song it was that Phil introduced, but it was from Awakening, and he was just talking about, yeah, kind of basically just what you said, kind of, being in harmony with other humans and giving a shit about other people, and actually, like,
yeah, it may have been Salvation, which is a fucking awesome song.
Yeah.
And it talks about salvation through music, and how music pulls people together, and it doesn't care what religion you are, where you were born, what color your skin is. It just wants everyone equally to enjoy the music and to be in that moment and into that message. And we did that song before the pandemic, but I remember about 1.5 years into lockdowns, no more touring, and all of the crap associated with what we all went through, listening to the song and looking at tour footage. We put together a Salvation video. A great friend of ours and videographer, photographer, Fayez, put together a cool Salvation music video using clips he captured touring with us. And everything from the VIPs or the record signing events to the days off and hanging out and getting euros and some cool cobblestone street, and then the interacting with the fans, like I said, the VIP or from on stage. And it's such a beautiful feeling for the musician. And I'm also a music connoisseur, so I'm on both sides of the fence. I know what it's like to be a fan in the front row, seeing people that you love, and I know what it's like to look down and see the fans. And it's such a beautiful freaking thing. And that song kind of celebrates that. And I think we could all get a little choked up if we grab that truth by the tail.
Yeah.
Because, it's all perishable. No one makes it out of this experience alive. And, we got a beginning, a middle, and the end. And if we're watching this, we're somewhere in the middle, left or right of the middle. So this is our opportunity to participate, to show up, to hang out and share. And that song just really means a lot. And I remember getting choked up just watching the video, because it's the classic, you don't know what you have till it's gone.
Yeah.
And you know, there we were, cooped up, canceled tour after tour after tour after tour, waiting for it to be safe to travel again. And was kind of looking back like, oh shit, we missed that whole opportunity. And then when we got busy again, that song is the point in the set where we remember
Mm.
what it was like to not be able to have music bring us together. So we're extra happy to be on stage. We smile a lot for a metal band, I think,
Yeah.
but we're really happy to be there, and we're enjoying it. You know, we don't want to curb stomp politicians, and we don't want to burn down the church. We want a hug, man.
Yeah. That's,
So that's where you get the Summer of Love. It's just another manifestation of the sort of vibe. We call the door bus the happy train. If
nice.
anyone gets negative or does a post, you know, on social media, it's like, oh man, today sucked. What the hell am I doing? We'll huddle around them. What, you need a hug? I saw your post. What's going on? This should be fun.
Yeah.
And inevitably, you know, things happen at home, or you get bad news, or it's just a bad day. You break a piece of equipment or lose a box of shirts or whatever. So it's important to have that team kind of pick you back up, help you
Nice.
recover. Wow, check out the sunset starting to happen.
Oh, that's beautiful. Wow.
Yeah, I had the sun in my eyes for a while. I noticed it was getting darker,
Yeah,
and
those
that's Holding Rock back there,
oh,
a cool
very
little
cool.
place in Arizona.
Yeah, those desert sunsets and sunrises are spectacular.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I love the fact
I
that
think I need those anymore.
oh nice. I love the fact that there's kind of this, you know, for lack of a better term, there's kind of the, you know, from what you just said, there's kind of this almost hippie vibe, you know, Summer of Love.
Right.
And then I mean you guys are a, you know, hardcore thrash band, which
Funny,
is
right?
and you guys fucking kick ass, but you know,
Thanks.
yeah, I mean just these hard driving, you know, riffs and, you know, I
It's a pretty angry beat to be selling love, right?
yeah, but it works. I think it works. And I think that's one of the things
Yeah,
that always set you guys apart is that you were always um you know, politically motivated, but also, you know, always honest. There was always
sure.
like a deep honesty, I think, with your music, you know, both lyrically and just sonically. I think it was always a very honest
I
approach to
appreciate that.
playing.
Yeah, we always try to make sure we didn't, like, you know, over polish our productions. There's something raw about metal that's very attractive and beautiful.
Yeah.
Still, as individuals, you try to be the best you know. So, you know, it's always balanced. The yin and yang of life. Always trying to find a balance. You know, you want to put your best foot forward, be
Yeah.
prepared. As a guitar player, I want to be technical and sonically true, but you also don't want to overproduce, use too much studio magic, you know, allow for some spontaneous noise in the track. It really gives it breath, you know.
Yeah.
So it's always finding the balance, and it's a process, you know. Over the years, your perspective and your likes and dislikes change a bit. On this one, on Awakening, it was really cool, where we're aware of all of the latest tricks to get drums to pop, and starting with Dave, just a serious stubbornness, like,
Mm.
no, I don't want any triggers. You know, if the drum hums a little bit, it's fine. You know, it doesn't mean we won't tape here and tune there and put our best foot forward, but we're not going to be triggering and sampling, you know, snare tone 2247 out of the catalog of 58,000 possible snares, including drum samples that have been captured from famous records. You know, these days you could have John Bonham's kick and snare
Wow.
if you want, which is a crazy world and also really cool if that's where your head's at. But we were really wanting to just find the organic sound of our band,
Yeah.
and that meant drums with mics, some room mics, but no triggers, and guitars and stuff were a similar thing.
Nice. Yeah, and Dave's such a monster drummer. I mean, you know, for those that may not know,
Oh,
he was in, you know, motor or not motor. He was in
Machine
Machine
Head.
Head for several years
Hmm.
back in the 90s, and yeah, what a beast.
After he left Sacred Reich.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like a lot of people are like, how did you get the drummer for Machine Head? It's like, how did Machine Head get our drummer, if you
Yeah,
know your history?
exactly. Yeah. Right, exactly. Yeah.
Both of them have a story, but you're starting in the middle of the book,
Yeah.
you know.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so having him come back was like an old friend coming home.
Nice.
We all know each other really well, and he's easy to lean on. He's a metronome. His timing is impeccable, and he I always remembered he was special. Uh, recording independent and all the stuff we did up through Heel. He was always just amazing. And that time in Machine Head, he just became more of a monster, more confident. And it's crazy because he likes almost like less is more. But when you watch it, it's ridiculously technical with a lot of technique. And he's a fun guy. He's really funny to hang out with. And he's certainly obsessed about the drums. If you got a day off and you're in a Walmart parking lot for 8 hours, he'll pop up in the trailer and get out his practice kick snare set up, put on headphones, and just rock through 45 minutes of jams.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you'd just be like walking around coming out of Walmart with your new beach towel or something. You'll hear the what the hell is that? Of course, now over the years I've learned the sound. I know it's Dave somewhere behind the trailer. But yeah, he's crazy that way. It's not unusual to see musicians that way. The guitar player who won't put it down,
Yeah.
drummer's always spinning sticks, hitting everything. So he's one of those, and it serves him well. He's always hot. He's always on point, and I'm sure it's years of his work as well as how he stays warm daily.
Nice.
I like to enjoy breaks. Like I went almost 3 weeks, didn't pick up my guitar.
Oh, really?
after we got off tour, and I'm not mad at the guitar. It's just we were playing 4 or 5 nights a week, and I had some dead skin flaking off. And when you're gone 4 or 5 weeks, you come home and there's a pile of stuff waiting for your attention. So I kind of got buried, switched gears. So it's not to say I don't enjoy playing, and I certainly have my hours of playing in, but I do enjoy a break. But I know within like 72 hours of getting home, Dave was in his drum studio at home doing these killer videos.
Wow.
He just literally lives and breathes it.
Wow.
And,
Well, and yeah, you're a pretty busy guy. I mean, you're a business owner. For those that may not know, you own
it's
a
true.
restaurant. So
Yeah. If you're ever in Scottsdale, Arizona, check out Rehab Burger Therapy.
yeah, I've never been there. I've been to Scottsdale for a long time, but I need to get there because I was looking at your website, and
It's really a cool place. We just had our
I gotta
11-year
get there.
anniversary.
Oh, congratulations. Nice.
Yeah, May 29th was 11 years. Over the years, we've had the pleasure of winning a lot of local awards. We also won some best in the Southwest, best in the U.S., and we even got featured on the Travel Channel Food Paradise, and had some other cool little accolades. Cool people come to see us. James Hetfield comes in when he's in town. He's got a home somewhere, I think South Arizona, and his realtor eats with us almost as a regular. So when he's in town, he'll bring him in. He enjoys a mushroom Swiss on brioche bun.
Oh,
David Spade, Joe Walsh has been in.
wow.
Some TV personalities, a couple guys from Jackass series. So it's been really fun over the years. With social media, we do some wacky burgers, but they actually have great flavor profiles. Like one of them is the PBJ and bacon burger, which is peanut butter and jelly and bacon.
Interesting.
What you don't hear in the name is sriracha. So this cool thing happens where the sweet and the heat, the heat from the sriracha and the sweetness of the jelly, it kind of creates that's a good barbecue sauce, is sweet pitted against heat.
Yeah.
So there's this interesting thing, and then the salt from the bacon, it's kind of the peanut butter, there's sort of an Asian influence. It's not what people expect, that's for sure. You can tell when they have it, like there'll be a table of 4 and they'll order one of those and cut it into 4s just to be brave and try this crazy burger they heard about. And then you'll see them return over the next days and weeks just ordering their own PBJ burgers. Like, yeah, it's not a gimmick. It's an intense flavor combination.
It sounds
so
amazing.
Yeah, and there's a bunch. I could spend an hour talking about the restaurant, but it's a lot of fun. Like most musicians, I'm a high school dropout who didn't go to college. I'm an expert joint roller, and when I stopped touring, my resume was like expert joint roller, Cannabis Cup judge, high score on NHL 95, and I can play Eruption. So what you can see is I'm not very hireable. So I did what most musicians do. I found myself at a restaurant for minimum wage, and it made my wife happy. You know, when we parked the band, that break we had between '98 and 2007,
Yeah.
started getting busy, and then spent some time working at a place and just excelled at it, and everything made sense. That's another thing. Musicians, sometimes they look like high school dropouts like me, but they're actually very driven and disciplined.
Yeah.
Um, you know, you have to be to work with metronomes and get good at something. You have to do the seat time. You have to do it. You know, get the 10,000 hours in. Um, so after about 10,000 hours in the restaurant, I'm like, boy, I think I get it. I'm gonna open my own place.
Nice.
Yeah, and 11 years later, it's a really cool thing, and it also creates a support income for me. If we have downtime with the band, you know, I get paid, and even when I'm on tour, I get paid. So it's been a really cool part of my life, but it does give me an extra thing that the guys don't have to deal with, and that's a pool of employees and, you know, the stress for reporting my taxes and running a business.
Right.
But I've got really talented people, a couple partners, and over the years I've worked myself into the background where they're not dependent on me to run shifts and stuff. And it's a really cool place to be these days, where the restaurant's not so dependent on me, but still has my fingerprints all over it. When I'm here, I visit 5 days a week, but I'm not running shifts. I'm just doing things in the background, and really thankful for it. And it's one of those things, like, life happens while you're making other plans.
Yeah.
If you would have talked to me while we were touring independent, I would have had no idea that I would end up being a restaurant owner.
Yeah. I'm
So
sure.
yeah. So there's probably something in the future I have no idea about right now. And knowing that is half the fun of getting older.
Yeah. I definitely need to get down there. Like I said, I haven't been to Arizona for quite a few years, but yeah, when I read about that, well, and the one, well, now I have to try the PB&J, but the one I really am interested in is the Benedict. That
Oh
sounds
yeah. We
amazing.
just did that. Every weekend we do a burger that's not on the menu. We'll bring in some ingredients that aren't on, you know, traditionally on the menu, ingredients that usually aren't in the kitchen. And we think of it as the proving ground for new burger creations. So we'll try wacky stuff, run it up the flagpole, see who salutes it. If it gets a lot of requests afterwards, we'll do it another weekend in a month or two. And if that really starts hopping, we'll consider printing it on the menu, bringing in the needed ingredients, and making it part of the everyday. So a lot of the wacky stuff on the menu, that's where it started. They were weekend burgers. We've been doing that for 11 years now, every weekend.
Cool.
We come up with something. Sometimes we'll repeat one that was popular in the past. We want to give it another try. One of them is the maple bacon donut burger.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's a pair of
Does that come with
raised donuts with maple and bacon on them, with a 10-ounce burger, Swiss
wow.
cheese, fried egg, more bacon,
Wow.
maple syrup drizzle, and then your choice of fries are sweet potato tots.
Oh my God. Does that come with a
And
side of defibrillator?
that's It's another one that sounds ridiculous, but people lose their mind. And to our surprise, you know, we all know that America and certainly burger joints are associated with overweight, lazy people, but we have a ridiculous amount of like CrossFit type.
Interesting.
And what they'll do is they'll come in and get like 3 10-ounce patties, no bread. They do the craziest shit, but they've got these killer Instagram followings. They're super disciplined people. They're counting calories. Sometimes they'll fast for a while before a competition, and they'll come to us to celebrate and eat a ridiculous amount of food. But they appreciate our food is like totally home cooked vibe. You know, we got bakery buns. We get our meat 3 times a week from a local butcher. It's a
Nice.
special blend of bone out sirloin and brisket, which is an unfair advantage and
Wow.
exactly how we win most of the awards. We
Yeah.
made a commitment to pay more a pound for the beef than a lot of, I don't even call them competitors, than a lot of the other guys. So it's hard to beat that. And you know, there's a yield management philosophy without getting too much into business. And the idea is if you give a quality product in a large portion, you'll sell a lot of them. So instead of charging a lot and trying to get rich that way, through yield management, through using a lot of product because you're generous and affordable, then you buy smarter. So
Mm.
like when we first started, I was almost at $5. Like, this is going back to 2012. So without a barometer for what was the meat market like back then, I'll put it this way: we were paying about $1 a pound more for beef than the burger joint a block over,
Wow.
and it seemed ridiculous. And like, how long can we keep this up? Until we went to 5,000 pounds and it started saving 30 cents a pound. And then when we got to 10,000 pounds a week, we were buying it as cheap as people buy 80, 60-gram chuck
Wow.
through volume. And that's when we got our feet under us and started to move into a lead position for burger joints in Arizona. So, you know, there's a handful of mom and pop burger joints and a couple that are very respectable, doing great stuff and keeping people making paychecks. Um, but there's not a lot of people going the long road, and we're proud to be in that small handful that stay at the top of the, you know, the gourmet burger thing happening in Arizona.
Yeah, that's very cool. I love that. Yeah, I gotta get down there. Well, I gotta get down there and have a burger with you.
Yeah. Well, if you're in town, definitely let me know
Yeah,
and come out when I'm not on tour.
yeah, yeah, that would be awesome.
Although I love it when friends and fans or acquaintances are around when I'm not, and they'll send me a picture from the restaurant.
Nice.
It, it just feels great. I love it.
Cool. Yeah, I will definitely be visiting. I have to get in there. I wanted to ask you about to totally switch gears. I wanted to ask about the Human Condition,
Yes.
a band that you played in with Eric, AK, of course, from Flotsam and Jetsam. How did that come about? And is it still like I don't know if you guys ever like really stopped, or is it kind of on hiatus? Is something that might still
Yeah.
happen?
Well, we consciously put it down. It almost reminds me of when we parked Sacred Reich. It sort of got tattered, and we're like, I don't think we could drive this anymore. The tires are falling off. So we parked it somewhere shady, and we all hitchhiked and found a way to wherever we were going for several years. And then we ended up coming back to the car, and it did need tires and paint and motor work. And I kind of look at the human condition in a similar way.
Mm.
And there were many incarnations. I'll see how quick. When we parked Sacred Reich, after about 8 months, I had a local musician, well-respected guy, Pat Flannery, played with a band called Saint Madness, still does, and he was kind of trying to recruit me. He was looking for a lead guitar player, and they're a killer band, but they were almost like the shock rock makeup thing,
Mm.
and I just couldn't identify with it. I always loved them. They're a local band. There's nothing wrong with it until I try to participate, and then it's just not my thing. So I was just no. I was a firm no, 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 no. But we were talking more. And he goes, "Well, you shouldn't be sitting around doing nothing." He goes, "Let's start a band." And he was a singer, and we created the Human Condition and recruited some local talent around us. We're having a lot of fun. Spent a couple of years writing and growing, and then his band was getting more of his attention, and the Human Condition seemed to be slowing him down. So he made a decision to stop singing with the Human Condition and move back full time with Saint Madness, who ended up doing some more releases and was time well spent for him. Um, then we brought in another guy for a while, and there's another incarnation of the Human Condition, changed bass players, and that fell apart. Another singer stepped in. We tried not to let go of a lot of the music that we created. Like we gotta see this through and get it recorded. And then Eric came in, and things took a positive change. His interpretation of the music, new ideas for lyrics, new vocal melodies and ideas. He's such a great singer. I,
Oh
I
yeah.
think most people know that. We were looking at cover songs to play, and the bass player suggested Billy Thorpe, "Children of the Sun," and
Mm.
I was like, "Fuck." I look at Eric. I'm like, "What do you think, man?" He's like, "Easy." So I'm like, all right, let me do some homework.
Nice.
Figured out some guitar work. Brought it in. We worked a day without Eric. Gave him a call. Hey, man, when you want to get together? I think we're ready. You know, let you put some vocals on it. He came in. I almost had to stop playing my Goosebumps he's just such an amazing singer.
Yeah.
And he was just nailing it, the vibrato, the low parts, the high parts, the nuance, the detail. And it's not like an operatic song, but it does use a big range. And it was a great song for a reason. And he just brought all of the magic that made those things true. And you hear it in his other work too, but for some reason, covering that song, Children of the Sun, really opened my eyes to how powerful he was. And what a great singer. He
Oh,
messaged me about a year ago. He's like, hey, man, he was in France, I think, doing Hellfest or something. And I was at home at the time. He's like, hey, what's up? He's, I'm going to be back in a couple of weeks. What are you doing? I'm like, I'm heading to Europe. He's like, fuck. So we kind of got busy, but he's like, hey, we should have recorded some of those songs. And I think he said he had some support somewhere. He was talking about what we were doing, and someone might put up a small budget for a limited release or something like that. I'm like, well, when we're staying still long enough in the state, we should revisit it. So there's a very loose communication between him and I
mm,
that we spent some time working on stuff that never was released. And maybe we would try to see that through, not as like, our new band that's going to steal all of our attention and energy, but more as an afterthought. Like, hey, we spent some time together. There's some cool stuff that no one ever heard.
yeah.
Maybe we should find a way to release it.
Oh, that would be fantastic. I would
Yeah,
love to
it's a
hear
lot of what if in there if you're hearing it, but
that.
it's
Yeah.
still it's real communication. As
Yeah.
long as there's air in our lungs, there's a chance to make things happen.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. That would be great. Yeah, because
Yeah, yeah,
that was a
we'll see.
cool that was a cool project. I thought I really enjoyed that. I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, there's not much to share, We did a couple demo things, but Eric wasn't on those. So anything with Eric is like live video
Yeah,
and sparse. There's not really good material to share or talk about it. And a lot of people weren't super interested till they heard Eric was in it. So it's unfortunate that that's the stuff that's most poorly represented.
yeah,
But
that's just too
we'll
bad.
see. We
Yeah,
reserve the right to if we have time off. I'm looking forward to being busy for a while, and
yeah,
obviously Sacred's my priority. That's my lifelong uh, band love affair and where my loyalty lies. But if we could have some downtime, boy, it would be fun to see it through and get it released and run it up the flagpole.
yeah, that'd be yeah, that would be cool. That'd be so. Speaking of that band, Flotsam and Jetsam, Eric, do you think there would ever be like a Flotsam Sacred Reich tour? Do you guys, in the future? Do you
Man,
guys?
I hope so. We've been talking about it for so freaking long, and it's a challenge because we're we're so similar.
Hmm,
So, no one wants to take the support role for $1,000 less. It feels like we get the same show, rather we go out headlining or go out with a like-minded band. Like it's like we can have the crowd to ourselves and the lion's share of shirts, or we could split it 50-50 with someone else.
yeah,
And I imagine we look similar to them, right? It's like we have similar needs. So someone's got to come down, or we both got to come down. It's almost like we're splitting headline shows. Like they could go out and headline and have the lion's share of merch that night because they're not competing with like their equal, or we could do that.
yeah,
And it's difficult to make a commitment to spend 5 or 6 weeks taking half. And I think that's the quiet thing no one says out loud, because they're like brothers to us. Love the music, love the personalities. Uh, would be fun to hang out with and travel with. It's hard to make great business sense of that. It would be killer for the fans of the Arizona package. Maybe put some
yeah,
cactus props, make it look
yeah,
like this back there.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, so it'd be easy to get excited about that. And I haven't really had this discussion with everyone. I'm shooting from the hip a little bit, kind of telling you what it looks like for me. But it seems like that's what tends to stomp it out. It's like, usually you're trying to weigh out your opportunities. And with any luck, you have more than one. And the times that have come up, which is just a handful in 30 years, a half dozen times it's ever been like the look like the timing trajectory might work. There were also competing opportunities. And it always like, that would be awesome, but I think this other opportunity is smarter for us.
Yeah.
And I think that there have been times that they had the exact same situation where it would be a lot of fun, but other opportunities sound smarter. What I'm really hoping will happen is we're going to end up at some of the same festivals, and that'll be the closest that we've ever been. You know, we played here in town, probably our biggest show in Arizona. We played Compadre Stadium with Pantera and Flashman Jetsam.
Oh, okay.
I wish that could go out on tour today.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
That would be
That'd be
awesome.
pretty huge.
Oh man, I love to get on one of those Pantera shows.
Yeah. Wow. Oh man.
Just amazing. We toured with them for 6 weeks in the U.S. on the Vulgar Display of Power tour, and arguably the best U.S. tour we ever did on a lot of levels. Successful sold out shows, really reasonable pay, great merch experience. You know, the partying, developing relationships with the guys in Pantera, having my own personal experience with Dimebag, not knowing that would be so valuable later.
Yeah. Wow.
So watching them at it now is really interesting. I know they get a lot of shade. A lot of people don't love what's going on, and I respect that as well. But I respect more what they're doing. I think they found a classy way to do it. I think there are a lot of fans who never had that experience live,
Yeah.
and I think they're doing as good as anyone could to tip their hat and respect and pay homage to a killer fucking band that was super influential on our genre. And I'm glad they're out there doing the gigs. I'm glad that the gigs are successful, and I'm glad that Vinny and Dimebag's loved ones see a benefit from the tour that's happening and
Yeah.
the income that's generated. You know, I've heard people say, "Oh, it's a money grab. Oh, it's a this. Oh, it's a that," and I get it. You know, sometimes things look crazy from across the street,
Yeah.
and you know, sometimes things aren't appropriate until they're appropriate. So it's unfortunate that you know we couldn't see the original lineup, but here we are. It's 2023. Everyone's not here anymore, and I think they're really doing the best that they could to do it right. And there's a lot of benefit to the fans and to the families of Pantera.
Yeah.
So it's got my support.
Well said. Well said. Yeah. Cheers to Vinny and Dimebag. Yeah. Well said.
Get
I
your pool.
yeah. Uh, I wanted to change direction a little bit. Let's take a ride in the Wayback Machine, and I want to talk to you about, this is kind of a threefold question. I wanted to talk to you about your beginnings as a musician. So, kind of what was that process? What, you know, did you come from a musical family, and then what also were the inspirations for you?
I got my first guitar for Christmas when I was 8.
Oh, cool.
It was a mini acoustic looking thing. It was just a little dude, probably had 14 frets on it. I played it too hard. I just knocked the shit out of it basically and moved my hand around like this, none of this, just pop, 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 like had no instruction. As the strings would break, they would not be replaced. And at some point, I flipped it over string side down and beat the shit out of the back of it with wood spoons, and it was my first drum kit.
Oh, wow.
And it went in the corner with my Stretch Armstrong and some other toys around the 70s.
Armstrong. Right on.
and it showed up 25 years later, but that guitar kind of disappeared from my life. I had I got an uncle and an uncle-in-law who played acoustic guitar, who had varying. My uncle-in-law played in bands when he was younger, but I never knew that part of him. But he was pretty good guitar player, like in the living room with his acoustic, and he had good technique, and he was, you know, doing bar chords and all the open chords, and he knew all the scales. And I always thought that was intriguing. But it wasn't until my cousin Guy, he's a couple years older than me. We were raised together here in Scottsdale, and he had moved to Fredonia, a little town in New Mexico, kind of near the Four Corners area, I think. I don't know if it was in Arizona, New Mexico, one of those states right near the border. But it was a small town, and he started playing guitar a lot to kill time. I think he was probably bored. I think he met someone there who played guitar. So they just started competing with each other to get good at guitar. And I remember him calling me once, and he's like, "Hey, check it out." And phone on the cord, he'd set it down and he'd play a little bit for me. He'd pick up. I'm like, "What the hell was that?" He goes, "That's me. I'm playing guitar." And
Wow.
he was playing parts of Sweet Home Alabama, the rhythm to Freebird.
Yeah.
I was just like, "Holy shit, that's you!" So right away I started working on Mom. Mom, I need a guitar. And she bought me a guitar. Guy came to visit for Christmas and brought his guitar. And for the first time, we sat down together with guitars. I think I was probably 11. And I, like the rest of my life, started trying to keep up with him. He'd always been talented, like in Little League. He was like the left-handed first baseman or a pitcher or something,
Hmm.
played guitar right-handed. But and I was always the outfielder. Like he would come up to bat and they'd go, "Get back, heavy hitter." And I'd get up to bat and they'd be like, "Bring it in." So as I embarked onto the guitar world, I was a little bit nervous. I was like, "Fuck, this is going to be another one of those things where you can't catch up with Guy." And the truth is, I still don't think I ever caught up with Guy. But chasing him put the bar high. And that was my initial incentive. This was a new thing Guy was into, and I needed to try to keep up with him so I could hang around with him. So we're playing guitar now. And the second year he came in, I had learned the rhythms to a lot of the songs he had the previous year, and he started playing solos. And he grabbed a lighter and was sliding up on his acoustic and doing the nice solo for the intro of Freebird, all that slidey stuff. It was super fucking cool, blew my mind, and was enrolling for me. And I just really started becoming as passionate about him. Like, okay, now I need to work on these solos so we can switch back and forth. I started working at a local guitar shop, which was exposing me to a larger group of guitar players. And like most musicians, you kind of pickpocket the best of what you hear or your opinion of what you hear on records or see in person. And you start developing your own bag of go-to tricks and ways that you'll express yourself using other things you heard until you make up yourself. So still doing that. But Guy gets the number one. And then just, the normal influences you get by interacting and being passionate about someone. And then finally, Randy Rhoads.
Mm.
When Guy came over and brought the Randy Blizzard of Oz record, we listened to it, and I could just tell that my life had changed. Guitar went from something I was doing to keep up with Guy to something that I was doing for me, and I wouldn't be happy till I was in a band on tour doing records.
Wow.
It became real for me, and at that point, I absolutely knew that I would get there. I thought we'd be much cooler than we ended up being. We're not a household name, but I think we got the success that we earned, and that's fair. And I like that I wasn't wrong, that I would indeed spend a life doing records and touring. And I just really, I think I owe the biggest thing to Randy, his mix of sort of the classical and the diminished sounding stuff like in Diary, and then pick scratch into metal, or
Yeah.
Revelation, Mother Earth, nylon string finger picking, pick scratch into metal. I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? This is a thing? This is a way that you could do this? Because I was born into acoustics and never really wanted to leave them behind. And our first record, Ignorance, has a instrumental called Laid to Rest.
Oh yeah.
And that's because Randy did instrumentals. And then later on Independent, I did another acoustic instrumental. It was called If Only. And
Great song.
that was where I spent a lot of time. I mean, the rest of the title, it's not the rest of the title, but the rest of the phrase in my mind is, if only Randy was still here. So it was me digging through all of the chords I learning D and Revelation, Mother Earth, and Diary of a Madman, all of those chord structures that I was introduced to, kind of rearranged in different ways, like we do with everything we learn. I mean, one of the biggest compliments I get is people are like, "Oh man, when I hear you solo, I know it's you. You have your own style," which is a
Right.
tremendous compliment. But for me, I know where I got everything I do. You know, and every artist does it. I don't care if you're a public speaker or a painter, you know, we're attracted to the way people communicate, and we adopt language and technique and ideas that we think are good, and we disregard the rest. And over a period of time, we develop who we are.
Yeah.
And if only for me, um, is me recognizing all of the influence from Randy and trying to put together in a way that honors him and I guess just salutes him and the wonderful influence he was. Now I listened to it and it's clear to me I'm no Randy Rhoads, but I'm really glad I did the freaking song, and it's fun to go listen to, you know, once every other year and just sort of remember that headspace. And the further I get from it, the more happy I am with it.
Nice. Yeah, it's a killer
which
song.
is which is funny.
Yeah,
But
I
you
think
know,
it's great. I think it's a killer song.
it's strange, right? In the middle of a metal record, all of a sudden
Yeah,
there's nylon strings going on. That's the same way I felt, you know, when I heard D.
yeah, yeah,
I was like, that was a track. It stopped, and now something else. That was a whole. What just happened?
yeah,
You know, in a world where we got used to someone like Eddie doing something like Eruption, D was just really left field for me, and it's such a refreshing way, you know,
yeah,
which takes nothing away from Eddie, but just establishes how Randy's different.
yeah.
His Eruption was on a nylon string with less finger tapping, but boy was it influential.
Oh, yeah.
That's what. Yeah, I mean, you had to learn a lot of Eddie growing up in the time I grew up, so of course I did. But it was really Randy I connected with.
That's cool. What was the kind of that transitional point for you from that, the early playing to the thrash metal to joining Sacred Reich and meeting those guys, and kind of how did that all happen? What was that
Most
like?
most of us went to school together within a year of each other.
Okay.
Uh, like when I was a freshman at Coronado High School, Phil was finishing up eighth grade.
Hmm.
Jason Rainey was a sophomore, and Greg Hall was a junior.
Oh, okay.
And we lived in the same zip code. Paul Stotler, our artist, was I think in the same age and grade, a year behind me with Phil.
Wow.
So as they came to Coronado, all of a sudden, everybody who would be in Sacred Reich were hanging out, going to the same school. Now, keep in mind, we're 16, 17, 18, 19, right? And there had been 4 years, 5 years, 1982, 1983. I'm a 13, 14-year-old with an amp and an electric guitar, playing keg parties with drummers, but no full band. And we're all figuring out who we are. Who are the guys who begged their parents for a drum set? Who are the guys who actually got an amp and an electric instead of an acoustic? And we started figuring out who we were. And we're kind of like musical chairs. We're all playing with each other. The Sacred Reich history is an interesting one. No one currently in Sacred Reich was in the original Sacred Reich,
Oh,
including
really?
me and Phil.
Interesting.
The only member who was always in Sacred Reich was Jason.
Okay.
Um, Jason pretty much started the band. They were a cover band. They were hardcore. They played SOD covers. I think they played a Dead Kennedys song,
Hmm.
For Whom the Bell Tolls, at a time when the world was crazy about Rat, Dawkins, Scorpions, Judas Priest. These guys were begging out hardcore covers.
Nice.
And I thought they were fucking crazy. I was like everyone else, more into the glam thing. I didn't really care for the ass shaking or the bandanas, but I love the guitar work. A lot
Yeah.
of great guitar players came from glam. So I was kind of seeing myself heading, can I be in some sort of a Scorpions or a Dokken? Is kind of what I felt like I was working toward trying to do. Get a record deal, try to be a standout player. And it seemed like thrash was more attitude and less skill, and probably not the right path for me. Um, Eventually, Sacred Reich got together, went through many incarnations of members moving. Dan Kelly was a singer. Jeff Martinick was the lead guitar player. Ray Ney on drums was replaced by Greg Hall. Phil replaced a guy named Lurch on bass. And they were starting to turn into the band that would get a record deal. And Jeff Martin was the lead guitar player. For whatever reason, he needed to get the hell out of town. And I don't think he was in trouble. I think he was just growing as an individual. And he joined the Navy, I believe, and moved out of state. And they had already done a demo tape called Draining You of Life.
Oh, yeah.
And that demo tape was used for college radio and also Flotsam and Jetsam. Keep in mind, we're going back 1984, 1985. Flotsam and Jetsam was just getting ready to appear on Metal Massacre 7, the Metal Blades Records Massacre, and they had not yet recorded Doomsday for the Deceiver.
Oh, wow.
Sacred Reich was going to be playing what they call them, showcases. They'd have record labels come, and then the band would be all nervous because they knew that there were people from Capitol Records, Metal Blade Records, Enigma Records, or whoever they could get to come to a showcase show. And Sacred Reich had a spot in front of Flotsam and Jetsam for that show. I'm not looking at the phone much, and every time I lean in and then look back, I'm like, whoa, why am I so close? Just enjoying talking with you. Very long story short, they needed a lead guitar player. I talked about the musical chairs where we were all figuring out who was who, and I was proud to have earned a reputation that like Wiley's someone who's going to do something. You should try to get him. And so Phil came to me, and I knew all these guys. I'd played with them at different times with different bands, one at a time. We hadn't all played together, but I knew who Phil was. I remember Greg asking me about bass players for Sacred Reich, and I recommended Phil. I'm like, you tried Phil? Phil from Coronado? I'm like, dude, listen to him play bass. And we didn't even think of him as a songwriter. He was just a good bass player, He was worth having in the band because he was a good bass player. He didn't sing. We were playing cover bands, and Phil joined the band. When they went to record their demo tape before I was in the band, Dan Kelly, the singer, was having trouble showing up to the studio for whatever reason. I heard all kinds of stories. He was, he was busy at work. He slept all day. I don't know what the truth was. But Jason said, listen, you wrote the lyrics, Phil. You just sing them. Phil's like, what the fuck? I'm not a singer. He's like, just go in there by the mic and just fucking do it. So he became the singer in the studio recording Draining You of Life. That wasn't his goal in life. It just sort of happened. And then I came around. I listened to Draining You of Life. I'm like, who's singing? They're like, Phil. I'm like, fuck, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thrash metal though, I said, I don't know. And Phil's like, why aren't you more excited about this idea? I'm like, I just don't feel like there's great guitar players in thrash metal. And I'm at the very beginning of a path where I'm trying to be a great fucking guitar player. And he ended up dropping me off a Testament cassette tape. Oh. He's like, hey, when you get a chance, check this out. And I listened to Testament and particularly Alex Skolnick, and I was like, oh, so this outside the lines music doesn't require outside the lines soloing. Like I remember really appreciating, Hell Awaits and, Raining Blood, holy shit. But and a real thoughtful guitar solo in those songs would be inappropriate. Yeah. Right? The mindless scribble and that's what the vibe of the song is. And really in its own right, it is technical. It's not like these guys suck. It's like they were fucking closing their eyes and just letting it out, almost like a shout. That's how the solos would come out. But me being a bit more deliberate, organized, it was a little frustrating to me to think about being in the band. I loved to listen to it. I respected and understood early that no one sucks, but it's not what I was trying to do. So when I heard Testament, and Alex being a bit more thoughtful and articulate in an out of control kind of way, a light definitely went off, and I was like, whoa, this could be a fucking killer home for me. I don't need to try to play. I don't need to I can actually just do what I do. and just work on creating cool things that complement the song and the solo areas, you know, which is what I wanted to do. And I think initially I was thinking of all the cover songs they played and how I was going to have to grab the whammy bar and just, yeah. And I'm like, I just don't even care about that. Eventually, I ended up on stage cramming my whammy bar doing that sort of thing. And it's the funnest fucking thing in the world, especially at the crescendo at the end of a song, you know? But so everything works out the way it's supposed to. I had resistance for crazy reasons. I thought I was, you know, grooming myself for something else. But the reality is I never really seen eye to eye with the ass shaking fucking bandana eyeliner part of the glam. I just really dug George Lynch, Warren D. Martini, Matthias Jabs.
Yeah.
You know, that was what I was up against. So there was something really liberating about Levi's in a black shirt, a white light, and a 4 count. And then I still had the freedom to be thoughtful and you know, try to challenge myself to be expressive in the solo sections. So it ended up being a perfect fit. And, you know, it's the only band I've had this relationship with in my whole life. And I am currently 55 years old. So it's been a hell of a run.
Nice.
I joined in 86, first record in 87, 19 years old.
Thank God that Phil had the wherewithal to hand you a Testament tape.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think I was probably, I don't know how we were going to not have the experience we're having, including me talking with you right now. The older I get, the more inevitable everything seems. Of course, this would happen.
Nice.
So just enjoying it, man, and thankful for being where, you know, the right place at the right time and not being at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's getting dark out here.
Yeah, I was gonna say I should probably let you go, and
I'm afraid it's gonna be just an audio only podcast in another 20 minutes.
It's
There's
starting to
not
get
proper light out here. I started out worried about the sun.
Yeah, and it's getting darker and darker. But so Wiley,
I don't want to leave you hanging. Was there anything that's on your list you would hate to finish without asking?
No, this was amazing. This was fantastic. Thank you so much for chatting with me. And I wanted to say for the listeners, please look in the description below. There are links to, of course, Sacred Reich, but also to Rehab Burger Therapy. Check that out.
Awesome.
And your mouth will water just looking at the pictures, because mine certainly does.
Hey, when we're not doing metal, we got to eat.
Yeah, and what's more metal than a fucking burger? and a craft burger at that. But anyway, again, Wiley, thank you so very much. This was an honor and a pleasure chatting with you. I
enjoy talking with you, man. And I know you're a great supporter of the music scene and you're helping push the ball forward. I appreciate you for it. And it's always a compliment to have cool people like you want to talk. So I appreciate the opportunity to sit down with you and get in front of your listeners and share some perspective. I hope everyone will come out and support Sacred Reich. Check us out. Get in the hug. It's a different vibe for metal, but I promise you won't feel silly. You'll be rejuvenated. It's good times.
Great.
Hope to catch up with you as well. If not in Arizona, maybe in Utah. Now that we're connected, if you see us coming through town, hit me up, and we'll try to carve some time for an in-person sit down.
That would be awesome. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, man.